Hello, I'm Denise Scaloni. Welcome to today's episode of Empowering You. My guest today is Cindy D. Whitmer. She's a counselor, a coach, a speaker, and has been a writer for over 30 years. She helps people create meaningful lives personally and professionally. She's the founder of the Midlife Makeover Method, and she has so much information and wisdom to share with you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
It's gonna be better. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better, yeah. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
My guest today is Cindy D. Whitmer. She has been counseling, coaching, speaking, and writing for over 30 years, helping people create meaningful lives personally and professionally. In her mid 40s, she found herself at a crossroads, unhappy, unsatisfied, and unsure what to do. Believing she could thrive in midlife and beyond, she dove deep into learning how to best overcome her biggest struggles, began to truly love herself, and transform the darkest parts of her life into a peaceful, joyful adventure. Can't wait to hear about this. She lives in Lawrence, Kansas. Besides running her own business, she loves walking the trails around her home, communing with nature, traveling the world, petting her cat, playing games, putting together jigsaw puzzles, and passionately loving everyone in her midst. Believing the best is yet to come for anyone willing to do the work, she's on a mission to teach women everywhere how to love themselves fully and on their own terms. Hi, Cindy. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Denise. Thank you for having me. It's just such an honor and pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. And we're going to talk about your book too. I loved your book, but we'll talk about that. So let's just start. Your bio said in your mid 40s, you found yourself at a crossroads. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of, especially a lot of women, they get to a certain point, 40, 50, maybe even 60, and they
Yes.
look back and they think, is this it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that question all the time from women. Is this all there is?
Is this
Or who
right?
am I now? They're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I think I got caught there too. I'd been married 22 years and my life was, I had a career all along too, but my life was very focused on how to keep the marriage, how to keep the man happy, how to
Yeah.
make kids thrive, and kind of trying to be all things to all people. I was classically female trained, that we
Sure, sure.
serve the whole wide world. And
Right.
so I took that very seriously in all areas of my life. And then by the time I was in my mid 40s, I was so exhausted. And I was like, I can't continue down this path I am on. I am just spiraling down because my whole life was others focused. It was
Yeah.
about the clients, it was about the family, it was about the husband, it was about the community, it was about the schools, it was about what everybody else needed.
Right, right, right.
And I know there is joy in service, but it was out of balance for me. And I had almost completely forgotten who I was as an individual and what I wanted in life just for me. I wanted to be a wife, I wanted to be a mother, I wanted to be all those things, but who I was just as a person. And
Right, right.
I just find women in that situation so much. And so that was a big wake up call for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
big wake up
And I
call.
think too, when you get to that point, when you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, or even, after that, you
Yeah.
think you start looking at not everything you've done, but like what I'm getting near, not near the end, but winding
Yeah,
things down some. So that's hard when you get to that crossroads.
it is.
So
It's
is that so when you got to that crossroads and you found that you were unhappy, unsatisfied, everything going on, is
yeah.
that when you decide to write the book and come up with this? We're going to talk about the midlife makeover, or did that come a little bit later?
That came later. At
Okay.
that point, I was trying to save my marriage. It was very unhealthy, and my husband would not join me in the process of working on it. He believed that our marriage was perfectly fine. What was my problem? Why was I
Yeah.
complaining?
Mhm.
Anyway, there was years of that, and finally, I decided, either I'm going to, if I stay in this marriage, everything else is going to spiral down. I'm not going to be able to pull it off as a mother anymore, as a counselor to coach anymore,
Right.
as a volunteer anymore. or the marriage has got to go so I can, lift that huge burden, that toxic burden, and live, start fully living.
Right,
So
right.
this was a transformation that took, it took a few years. And then a few years later, our nest was empty, the kids were gone, and I was burned out where I was working. I'd been running a nonprofit counseling center for many years and overworking and overserving, overgiving still.
Yeah.
And I just knew I needed a fresh start. And so I took this sabbatical from everything, and I traveled around the country and looked for my next community I wanted to live in.
Right.
And I wanted to start my own business at that point. And so, yeah, so I did all that and landed here where I am now, and started my own business. And that's when the midlife makeover method became a reality.
Okay.
And I found my now second husband, and am just ridiculously happy with that
Great.
second chance at love and life with
Mhm.
someone. And yeah, I just began again. My second chapter began again. And now I teach women that there is hope no matter what they've gone through up to that point in midlife, and that it's not all downhill from here.
Right.
Many of them think what they have to look forward to is aging, illness, and death, kind of this,
Right.
it's all
Right.
downhill from here. It's too
Yeah.
late for me.
I'm too old to start over.
Old to start over. Yeah, there's a lot of myths around that I teach in
Sure.
the book, and so I'm here to debunk them all and to teach women how to turn it around.
Yeah. I know when I read that in your book that you just decided to look around and travel around the country and find somewhere else. So where did you start from? I meant to ask you that. So you're in Kansas now, but where did you move from when you started looking
Well,
around?
this is the irony of the whole thing. So I grew up in Iowa and lived in Iowa for almost 40 years. And then my first husband, we moved to Atchison, Kansas, which is about an hour north of where I live now. And we lived there for 10 years. But so when I left on my trip, I left Atchison, Kansas, and I went all over the eastern, kind of the whole eastern half of the United States from there, and south, all down the East Coast, south, come up. And then I went west a ways. I went as far
Mhm.
as Colorado and that area, and
Right.
came back, and I ended up moving an hour from where I was before.
Oh my gosh. But you
Lots
had
of
to
reasons.
say,
Long story, but
well, that's
it was
funny.
the
That's
best
funny.
thing ever. So excuse me.
Oh,
Mhm.
sure, of course. So let me ask you. So the midlife makeover method, which is the book that you wrote,
Yes, yes,
it's
there it is.
fabulous. So
Well, thank
what
you.
exactly is the midlife makeover method, the secret to loving yourself fully and living on your terms?
Yes.
So what does that even mean, Cindy?
Well, what I find is that most women, if they are unhappy or at this, this defining moment in the middle of their
Mhm.
lives, how they've gotten there often is being others focused, as they were trained to be, as we
Sure.
believe we are meant to be, and we have a heart to do
Yep.
that. And so it can play out in any and all areas of life. But so what I teach is for them to learn how to really love themselves and build their confidence, like build unwavering confidence and love themselves unapologetically, meaning really serving and loving themselves as they are so good at serving others, and
Mhm.
helping them change their mind about what that means. Because a lot of women think that means, oh, then I'm selfish and then I'm not
Sure,
caring about
right, right.
people.
We put ourselves last.
And that is not true at all, because the more we fill our cup, the more we have the overflow to give to others. And we're also teaching our younger generations that it's okay, to honor yourself, to do what you love. It's imperative, actually, because that
Right,
being our authentic selves is our job. Like, that's what we are to do.
right,
And if we aren't doing it, if we're forgetting about ourselves or getting lost in the shuffle of what we think we're supposed to be doing, then the world is missing out on something that we have unique to give. And
right.
so the midlife makeover method is a 6-step process that I take women in midlife through. I say it's like your makeover from the inside out. We often think of
Okay.
makeovers as like
Right,
hair,
right, right,
makeup,
right.
new
Makeup.
clothes, and all that, which is fine, but this is from the inside out. So you do the deep personal work to really understand how you got where you are, what you really want now, what needs to go, and the changes that you need to make in your mind, in your habits, in your daily life to really get you creating a life that feels full and meaningful, like whatever
Right.
that definition is for any particular woman, like what
It's all
happiness
different.
and success is for her.
Yeah.
So I really help them define that through this process, through this methodology, and it works. It worked for me. I did it myself, and then now I teach other women how to do it. So
What I liked about the book is, and I read a lot. I read a lot of, professional development books, personal development books. I do read a lot. But your book actually goes through and here's a step. Let's
yeah,
work on this. It's not just this is
yes,
the step. Okay, here's step two. Here, figure it out on your own. You actually like it's like almost like a counseling book, like a blueprint. Like this is how you
yes.
do this.
Yeah, I say it's $10,000 of coaching in a,
Yeah,
a
it really is.
you can work through yourself, and there's a lot of guidance in there. There's a lot of women's stories in there of how they used each particular step, so you have examples in there. And and there's some activities that I really recommend people do along the way. And
Hmm.
yeah, I hope it's a wonderful teaching tool for people, a really supportive
Yeah.
tool for them. So
It actually, I read through it the first time. I think I need to go through again because it was a lot to take in. I'm like, okay, now I need to go through and actually read this part and think about this. Because
yeah,
you have a couple of questions in here. It says how to get started in the path of self-discovery. Who am I? How have I shown up to arrive at this point in my life? What are my strengths? Where do I need to grow? What do I
yes,
like about myself and what don't I like? Those are some deep questions. I mean, that's a lot of thought-provoking questions.
yeah,
That's not
that's the
something you can
whole
just
that's
read over and like go to the next page. That's really
right. Yeah, I really hope when women read this book, they don't just read it, cover to
right.
cover. Like just read a little bit, take it in, process what's coming up. Because the first step, in my strong, strong opinion, personally and professionally, of anything, when we know our life is off path and we need to get on a different
Yeah,
path, is to wake up. I call it waking up. And that's answering some of those questions like, well,
right.
how did I get here? Like,
Yeah,
what did I do that I got here? That this
right.
is where I am in my life right now. This is how I'm showing up, or this is what I've brought to the table that's been really good. These are some of the places where I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing, or where I
Mhm.
know I'm falling short. We've all got those lists,
Oh, yeah.
we've all done that.
Right.
And
Right.
it's okay. It's the way to a better life when you can really look in the mirror and go, okay, I love this about myself. I hate this about myself. I don't know what to do with this part of myself,
Yeah.
but I know I want something different. I want something more. And that's where you start, right here. That's where I had to start, was right here. Because the other thing is that when we're pointing at other people, when we're blaming other people, or we're thinking, oh, if he would just change, which is what I thought in my first marriage. I thought,
Sure.
well,
Sure.
if he'd just change, we'd be fine. And, of course, if he would have joined me in the process of change, we might have been fine. But that wasn't his approach. That wasn't
Mhm.
his belief. That wasn't his. And so me sitting around waiting or begging or nagging or screaming to try to get him to change was crazy. Instead, I needed to just go, I must change.
Yeah.
I need to change. If my life is not running well, I need to change. And that's a big switch for a lot of people, because
It is
most
a
people
switch,
want
right.
to look outside themselves and say that my boss needs to change, or my parents need to change, or this friend of mine needs to change, or my spouse needs to change. So when you go, oh, it's empowering. Like, this is about empowerment. And the most
Right.
empowering thing a person can do, no matter what's going on, is go, what do I need to do right here?
Right. Because we actually push those questions down. We don't want to think about some of that bad stuff. We don't want to think about, we want to think about the good stuff. We don't want to think about like, how did I get
No.
here? Like, we don't want to. So
Yeah.
like being forced to like, just like if you had a lot of debt,
Yes.
until you sit down and like, figure everything out penny by, you don't know how much. And just
Right.
until you answer these questions, I thought as I was reading this, I should actually be like journaling as I read this, like journaling the answers and writing things down because I think that'd be really helpful too.
Yeah.
So that'll be my second time when I go through to go do that.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great idea, because a lot of us process well when we're writing. Some of us are
Yeah.
thinkers, some of us are talkers to process, some of us are writers. And yeah, anything that helps you go deeper with yourself and really peel the layers, be
Hmm.
more and more and more and more vulnerable and honest. It's not easy work, but it is worth it. It's
Right.
definitely worth it. That's where the answers are going to come.
It's not overnight. I'm assuming it's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, no, no,
That
it's a
it's gonna take
process.
it's a
That's
process,
right.
right, right,
This
right.
was not an overnight process for me. It's not for anyone. It's a journey. It's an
Right.
evolution of someone.
Mhm. And I was reading a lot of this really just resonated with me. I was reading through, and I got to the point, the part about the energy drainers.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
There are so many kinds.
there are so many kinds, but number one, I was like clutter. Wow,
Oh,
now, are you talking about like physical clutter? Are you talking about mental clutter in there? Are you talking about all of the above?
oh, yes, all of the above. I think what people immediately think of, and I do too, is
Sure.
materialistic clutter.
Yeah.
The clothes we have in our
Papers.
closet we don't wear, the basements that are, you can't walk through because they're just stacked with stuff. Might maybe not even your stuff, but maybe generations of stuff.
Yeah.
The garages you cannot park your cars in because
Right.
there's
Right.
crap in there. So yes, that's one form of clutter, which is all forms of energy drainers are baggage that we're carrying around. So mental clutter would be examples would be all those things you haven't forgiven yourself for. All the regrets you're carrying, the guilt you're carrying,
Yeah.
or the anger you're carrying toward others. Anything that's
Mhm.
not cleared up and at peace in your mind is mental clutter.
Yeah.
When you go over and over and over and over something, that's in the past and you just keep going over it, you're stuck in it, that's mental clutter.
That just
Um,
eats away at you.
it just eats away. It's like you're stacking bricks on your shoulders with
Mhm.
clutter of all kinds. And then
Right.
you're so weighed down, you're just dragging through life. And
Sure.
when you can
Right.
start to, release some of that stuff. It just lightens you up. And then you're freer. You're open to more,
Yeah.
new things to come in because you've made space for it mentally, physically, and so on. Yes, it's really important to get rid of the old. Out with the old. Out with everything you don't need. If you don't need it, use it, want it, love it. I say get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Right. Get rid of it.
Don't
And
need it, use it,
we
want
want
it,
to
love
hold on to things. We want to hold on to those feelings. We want to hold on to the stuff. We just
it.
want to
No.
hold on to things.
Or even beliefs, like
Yeah.
some of these beliefs women have in midlife. I'm too old. Well, there's a belief that's a drainer.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if we just go and going, I'm too old, it's too late, it's too late, it's too late. Well, what are we going to do if we believe that? We're going to do nothing but
Nothing.
age ourselves more quickly, get more depressed, and
Wither
not do
away.
anything
Right.
new, and just wither away. You might
Yeah.
as well just stop living right there because you are anyway.
Yeah.
So even beliefs have to go. Habits have to go sometimes that are destructive, relationships that are toxic. All those are energy drainers,
Yeah.
all of those. Even
So
things I
Cindy,
call tolerations are energy drainers. Like,
uh,
when you like you have a picture, a piece of art you bought 6 months ago that's sitting on your living room floor because you haven't hung it on the wall. That's something that's an incomplete. That's something
right.
that's just hanging over your head. Oh, I haven't hung that picture. I haven't hung that picture. Every time you see that picture, you go, oh, I still haven't hung that picture. So it takes up mental space. It takes up time.
Right. And we all do it.
We all do
We
it.
all
This
do
is
it.
so common. We're not bad. It's just a common thing. And when you can clean up those details, it's just, oh my gosh, it's so freeing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Hang the picture. You'll feel better. Trust me. Even if it's a little crooked.
That's it. Get it up there. Get off the floor.
Yep. Get it off the floor.
So Cindy, anyone that's watching this interview
Mhm.
and thinking, oh, that's really, I'm at that crossroads. I'm not happy. Like, is this all there is?
Right.
What should they do? Like, what are the first like two or three things that they should do to get started? Because thinking about it, it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
It's
Yeah.
overwhelming. What can they do to start?
Yeah, so there's a couple things to think about. And I would look at two possibilities. I would go, where are you most desperate in your life? Like, is there a serious health issue that you are
Mm.
ignoring that you need to attend to? Like, is that got some urgency around?
Right, right, right.
Like, so something that's really, or are you far in debt and you don't even know where next month's mortgage is going to come from? That's pretty crisis oriented. And it's like, please face that. Just start getting to know, where am I at with my health? What are my options? Just start there. Or the other way to begin to approach this whole makeover is to go, what's a simple little victory I can create for myself,
Mm,
that just feels really good. Maybe all it is I'm going to finally let myself join that yoga class, and I'm going to go this Friday, no matter what, just because I want to, just because I know I need to, just because I want to make new friends. I want to do something nice for my body.
right, 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 right.
Just and go do it, and then go, wow, I said yes to myself. That's a little victory. So get some momentum going with something easy. And then if there's a major something you're blowing off, you've got to address it. You just got to address it, because information is power when
Yeah,
our life is out of control. And there are options. There are ways to heal. There's ways to treat. There's ways to turn any situation around out there, any situation in any area of our lives. And so just letting yourself face it and gathering support, whether it's doctors, nutritionists, financial advisors, coaches, teachers, mentors, friends, whatever it is, spiritual advisors, whatever it is,
yeah,
getting somebody on your team to support you as well. That's where I would start.
right. I think too, be kind to yourself, 'cause it won't happen overnight.
Oh, absolutely.
Be kind to yourself. Know it's a process, it's a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, but each step you take will get you there.
Yes, you can do something daily to honor the process.
Mhm.
It is the more in depth, you need to go to really turn your life around. The more serious things are for you, the longer it's going to take. But you can do something every day. Someone teaches out there in the world. I can't remember if it's Jack Canfield or Wayne Dyer, but somebody I really love, that
Right,
I've
right.
watched their work for years, said you can have the smallest axe in the world and the biggest, tallest, thickest tree in the world. But if you chop even one chop a day, eventually the tree is going to come down. And that's what I feel about when we need to make changes in our lives. It's like we can take it bit by bit by bit, and it's progress, just progress all the time. And have patience and persistence, and you can do it. You can create a life that really feels good,
Right,
meaningful, and joy
right.
filled, so much better than you're feeling right now. I promise, if you do the
And I
work.
like how you said, reach out to somebody, whether
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
coach, whether it's
yeah,
a spiritual person, a friend,
yeah,
somebody, reach out to
right.
someone.
There are experts or loved ones or someone out there that can help team up with you to hold you accountable, to support you when you're needing that extra cheer or push, or walk with you in the down the path. So yeah, you don't have
Right,
to do it alone either. That's an illusion. People think they're alone, and you don't have to be alone either.
right. Because there's people that probably share the same thing you're thinking. Even some
Oh
of your
my
friends that share
gosh.
the same thing.
There are 52 million women in America who are in the midlife years right now. 52 million. So I
Wow.
promise, no matter what you're going through, whatever's happened, what hasn't happened, what you wish, what you want, where you feel like you're lacking, there are millions of other people
Yeah.
going through the same thing. So there's groups, there's all kinds of resources available.
Yeah. Cindy, why do you think that women are hesitant about doing this? Is it that they're afraid that they're going to fail? Is it that they feel people are going to look at them and say, "Well, you shouldn't have got yourself in this situation," or like, what is it? Why are women hesitant about doing something like this or starting this journey?
Well, I think one reason is they don't know what they don't know. Like I think
Mhm.
some women really actually believe this is it. This is it.
This is
That
it, right?
they've lived their lives, and now it's just, again, it's just okay. Now I'll enter my wisdom years, or the older years, or whatever. This is all there is. Like they really actually believe that. That's what's been modeled to them, perhaps. So I think
Sure.
that's part of it. And then, of course, we are all very repellent to change. Human beings are like, ugh, don't change anything. We don't even want to change our clocks in an hour, twice a week. That freaks everybody out. It's just
Yeah.
going, "I'm changing the clock 1 hour." So to the thought of like overhauling your life in one
Yeah.
area or five
Oh my
areas
gosh.
is pretty overwhelming. And so change is scary. And we are biologically wired. Our brain is wired to warn us when we're changing that there's something scary. So even our brain will go, "What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing?" when
Right,
you're
right.
trying to make changes. So you've got to really want it. You've got to really believe in it, that you're on to something better for yourself. And that is hard to do. It's hard to do. And then, yes, I think there's a great fear of failure, great fear of failure out there. I mean, fear and worry gets in people's way all the time. We could spend hours just talking about fear.
Yeah, right.
But really it's just, that's just a story in your mind
Mhm.
telling you, to and stopping you.
Yeah,
There's
right.
really nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear because you haven't done anything yet.
So, Cindy, as we wrap up this interview, any final thoughts you want to give women or men? Because this could work for men as well. We're talking about women that
Oh, I
men
agree.
men are actually they get in that whole midlife
Oh,
crisis uh, as well.
I really implore you to take an honest look at your lives.
Mm,
If you know you're stressed out or unsatisfied or just feeling like kind of like your life is like just dull or something, you just know you're not satisfied, you're not happy. Just do yourself a favor and look it over. Look at all areas of your life. Look at your
yeah,
health, look at your finances, look at your profession or whatever you're doing, retirement, volunteer, whatever it is. Look at your relationships. Look at how you're spending your free time. Look how you're spending your money. How you're living your life is a reflection of what you say you value. But often what we value or what we need now isn't aligned with what we're doing. And so just
yeah,
just take a deeper look and find out, oh, where would I really like things to be different? And just be honest enough to admit that to yourself and
mhm,
understand that that is you cracking open a door for being happier and healthier. I mean, with this is it. If you're not going to change now, if you're not going to look at this now, when are you going to do it?
right,
You're
right.
not going to do it when you're 80 if you're not going to do it when you're 60.
Yeah,
You're not going to do it when you're 90 if you're not going to do it when you're 50. We've still hopefully have decades left to experience
sure.
life. And we have, a lot of resources available to us right now. Hopefully we're as healthy, as healthy as we can be right now and so forth. So the time is now. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
That's perfect. Thank you so much for being here, imparting your wisdom, making people really stop and think and reevaluate their lives.
Yeah.
And just thank you for your time today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's been a great joy and honor for me to be here. Thank you so much,
Bye.
Denise.
Thank you, Cindy.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be
Thank you for watching today's episode of Empowering You. I want to thank my guest, Cindy D. Whitmer, founder of the Midlife Makeover Method. She gave such great information on how, if you're at that crossroads of your life, like she was so many years ago, you can make changes. There's still time to make changes and live your best life. I hope her interview and her story helps you lead the best life possible and empowers you to do so. Thank you for watching today's episode and see you next time.